As Ben held up the DNA test results, the entire graduation party fell silent. His wife's face went pale, and Franklin took a step back, realizing their decades-long secret was finally out. In front of all their friends and family, Ben began reading the report aloud, his voice cold and steady. The scent of grilled meat filled the backyard. Ben Manning stood by the barbecue, his fingers gripping a chilled beer bottle as condensation trickled over his calloused hands that had labored relentlessly for 2 decades to provide for his family. At 45, the history teacher's face showed signs of his commitment. Faint lines near his eyes from late-night grading sessions, a slight crease on his forehead from the persistent concern of supporting his children. Today ought to have been a victory. His oldest, Colin, had graduated high school with honors and was set to attend a prestigious university in the fall. The backyard was lively with guests, educators, relatives, companions, neighbors, all assembled to celebrate. Yet, something nagged at Ben's intuition, a sense sharpened by years of monitoring adolescent conduct in his classroom. Need any help with those burgers? Franklin Shin's voice interrupted Ben's reflections. His longtime college friend and business associate stood nearby in a custom suit, his designer watch gleaming under the afternoon sun. Franklin had always been the more refined of the pair, even during their scholarship years. "I've got it under control," Ben answered, his tone restrained. He had observed Franklin visiting their home more frequently recently, asserting that he required Yvonne's interior design skills for his new office. "Shouldn't you be socializing with the guests? I heard the Peterson account needs some schmoozing." Franklin chuckled, that effortless appeal that always attracted others. "Always the practical one, Ben. Yvonne is handling the Petersons. You know how persuasive she is. Could sell ice to an Eskimo." Ben observed his wife across the yard. Yvonne navigated the gathering with practiced elegance, her designer dress likely costing more than his monthly income. Lately, she had been altered, withdrawn, preoccupied. Her interior design venture had flourished, and along with it, she cultivated new preferences, new acquaintances, a new existence that felt progressively detached from their family. Dad, Rhonda, his 16-year-old daughter, hurried to the grill. "Mom wants to know if the food is ready. Everyone is getting hungry." Ben examined his daughter's face. Rhonda possessed Yvonne's traits, prominent cheekbones, almond-shaped eyes. But recently, he began to detect expressions that evoked Franklin more. He dismissed these notions as paranoid, yet they lingered. "Tell your mother 5 more minutes," Ben stated, flipping another burger. "And Rhonda, where is your brother Miguel?" "Probably with Uncle Franklin," she shrugged, already turning away. "They've been spending a lot of time together lately." Ben's jaw clenched. When had Franklin become uncle? He watched Rhonda maneuver through the crowd, uniting with Colin and Miguel. By the pool, his 3 children clustered with Franklin, their heads near, exchanging a private joke. Yvonne glided over to join them, her hand grazing Franklin's arm with a familiar closeness. The party's clamor diminished as Ben scrutinized the scene before him. 2 decades of teaching had educated him in interpreting body language, in detecting the subtle indicators of deception. The manner Yvonne inclined into Franklin's space, the synchronized expressions on his children's faces, not affection or esteem, but scorn, thinly veiled as adolescent defiance. Ben set down his spatula, movements intentional. He had been raised in poverty, the child of immigrants who instilled in him the merit of patience, of observing, of awaiting the opportune moment. He learned early that revenge, served cold, was more satisfying. A burst of laughter captured his attention. Yvonne had her palm on Franklin's chest, her face lifted toward his. The gesture was personal, excessively so for longtime friends. Then he overheard it, carried on the wind. "Remember how we deceived him about the fertility treatments?" Yvonne's voice, typically sweet and fluid, oozed with spite. "All 3 are your little angels, and this fool just covered their private schooling. Dad gave us better genes anyway." Colin's retort hit like a physical strike. "Franklin is our actual father." The other 2 nodded, snickering. Ben's hand stayed steady as he turned off the grill. 20 years of marriage, 3 children he had adored since infancy, innumerable sacrifices, all constructed on falsehoods. The fury that engulfed him was not heated, it was icy, solidifying into something more sinister. He strode to the outdoor stage arranged for speeches, each step calculated. The microphone felt substantial in his grasp as he tapped it twice, capturing everyone's focus. "I have an announcement," Ben declared, his voice projecting across the abruptly hushed yard. The party attendees turned toward him, anticipatory smiles on their faces. His family's small group separated. Yvonne's look transitioning from irritation to bewilderment. Ben met each of their stares in sequence. Yvonne, Franklin, his 3 children who were not his. He witnessed the instant comprehension emerged in Yvonne's eyes, the flicker of dread that crossed Franklin's face. "Good. They ought to be frightened. I'd like to thank everyone for coming to celebrate Colin's graduation," Ben continued, his tone casual. "It appears we have more to celebrate than just that." He reached into his back pocket, extracting an envelope he had carried for days. His gut feeling had prompted him to undergo the testing weeks prior. As he displayed the DNA results, he observed the color vanish from Yvonne's face. The party guests shifted uneasily, detecting the strain electrifying the atmosphere. Ben's smile remained unwavering as he commenced reading. Chapter 2. The Unveiling. The DNA results felt weighty in Ben's hands as he stood before the assembly of party guests. The document was crisp, formal, each term a spike in the coffin of his marriage. "I recently underwent some medical tests," Ben started, his voice carrying across the utterly silent yard, "including a paternity test for all 3 of my children." He paused, allowing the implication to settle. Would anyone care to guess the outcomes? Yvonne rushed forward, her designer heels sinking into the lawn. "Ben, cease this immediately. You're causing a scene." Ben's laugh contained no mirth. "No, Yvonne, a scene is what you've been performing for the last 20 years. He turned back to the crowd. "The results indicate that I am not the biological father of Colin, Rhonda, or Miguel Manning." The collective gasp from the guests gratified something dark within him. Ben watched Yvonne's impeccably made-up face collapse, saw Franklin retreat involuntarily. His children, no, Franklin's children, stood motionless, their prior arrogance supplanted by astonishment. "Ben, please," Franklin began, raising his hands. "Let's discuss this in private." "Privately." Ben's voice sliced through the air like a blade. "Like how you privately slept with my wife. Like how you privately fathered my children. Like how you privately mocked me behind my back." Several guests started edging toward the exit. Ben was unconcerned. Let them observe this. Let them disseminate the account of Yvonne's treachery, of Franklin's deceit. "Daddy." Rhonda stepped forward, tears streaking her face. "We didn't mean, do not call me that." Ben's words halted her. "I'm not your father. You made that quite evident earlier." He addressed all 3 children. "You've spent years regarding me with disdain, making me feel inadequate. Now I comprehend why." Miguel, his youngest at 14, began to weep. Ben felt nothing. The boy who had once presented him with handmade Father's Day cards was merely another fabrication. "Regarding inheritance," Ben continued, his voice projecting across the yard, "I've already consulted my lawyer. Everything I possess, the college funds, the trust funds, all of it has been transferred solely to my name. You will receive nothing." Yvonne lunged forward, her poise fracturing. "You cannot do that. We're married. Half of everything is mine." "Check again, Yvonne." Ben smiled, his expression razor-sharp. "Recall those documents you signed last month, the ones for your business expansion? You might wish to review the fine print. You relinquished your rights to our joint assets." Franklin stepped forward, his legal instincts engaging. "That's fraud, Ben. We can contest this." "Attempt it," Ben challenged. "I have recordings of you both confessing to the paternity fraud. I have DNA tests. Moreover, I possess proof of your affairs spanning years." He spread his hands. "Proceed, take me to court. Let's make this even more public than it already is." The color drained from Franklin's face. Yvonne swayed on her feet, seeking support. "You've always presumed I was weak," Ben addressed his family. The gentle teacher, the compliant dad, the credulous husband. His laugh was cold. "You overlooked my origins. You forgot what I endured to survive." He turned to the remaining party guests, who stood captivated by the unfolding spectacle. "Thank you all for coming. The party is concluded. Feel free to disseminate the reason why." Ben descended from the stage, his movements unhurried. He passed Yvonne, who grasped for his arm. He shook her off without a glance. "Ben, wait," she implored. "We can discuss this. We can resolve this." Resolve this. Ben turned back, and something in his expression caused her to retreat. There is nothing to resolve, Yvonne. You, Franklin, the kids, you are all dead to me. He smiled, and it was not a benevolent look. But don't fret. I'm not finished with any of you yet. He walked through the gate, leaving behind the sounds of Yvonne's sobs, Franklin's efforts at damage control, and his children's perplexity. He had arrangements to make. 20 years of falsehoods would not be avenged in a single day. Chapter 3. The Vanishing Act. In the days following the graduation party, Ben operated with exactness. The inexpensive motel room on the town's outskirts functioned as his provisional base as he methodically deconstructed his former life. His phone vibrated incessantly with messages and calls he ignored. Yvonne's texts varied from frantic appeals to furious threats. Franklin left voicemails saturated with legal terminology and tries at reconciliation. His children, no, Franklin's children, dispatched emotional pleas begging for forgiveness. Ben read each message, preserved them all, and persisted in his tasks. The laptop screen illuminated his face as he transferred funds, closed accounts, and activated backup plans. Years in the preparation. A knock at his door disrupted his focus. Who is it? It's Trevor, you paranoid bastard. Open up. Ben verified through the peephole before admitting his oldest friend. Trevor Jong, a cybersecurity specialist he had known since their teen years, surveyed the shabby motel room, his expensive suit and laptop bag seeming out of place. You look like hell, Trevor remarked, placing his gear on the scarred table. Good to see you too. Ben resumed his work. Did you bring what I requested? Trevor produced a stack of documents. New identity, clean record, untraceable accounts. Edmund is working on your physical transformation plan, and Sophia has surveillance on your family. Ben nodded. His friends had rallied around him without hesitation. They recalled the determined immigrant youth who had struggled through school, who had assisted them when needed. Loyalty signified something to individuals like them. Yvonne has been active, Trevor continued, accessing surveillance images. She's already consulting divorce lawyers. Franklin is aiding her, but they're encountering obstacles. Apparently, they cannot access any of the accounts they believed they owned. Everything is gone, Ben stated, his voice emotionless. 20 years of savings, investments, all of it. I've relocated it where they will never locate it. Trevor whistled. Remind me never to anger you. He paused, examining his friend. The kids are in disarray. The university withdrew Colin's acceptance when the trust fund payment failed. They are no longer my concern. Ben's fingers continued across the keyboard. They decided long ago. You're one cold bastard, Ben Manning. Ben Manning was a fool who trusted the incorrect people. Ben looked up, his eyes stern. He is deceased. Trevor nodded slowly. What do you require from me? Make me vanish. Ben rotated the laptop, displaying a map. I acquired property here under one of the shell companies. Remote, defensible, distant from my old life. I need you to ensure no one can trace it back to me. Consider it accomplished. Trevor extracted his phone. Edmund wants to meet tomorrow. He has some concepts about altering your appearance. Good. Ben stood, stretching. Inform Sophia to continue monitoring them. I want to know every action they take, every person they converse with. They're terrified, Ben. Yvonne has been weeping to anyone who will listen about how you deceived her, how you're attempting to ruin her. Ben's laugh was empty of humor. She hasn't witnessed ruin yet. This is merely the commencement. What's your endgame here? Trevor inquired, packing his equipment. Justice. Ben's voice was quiet but resolute. They took everything from me. My marriage, my children, my trust. I'm going to take everything from them. Not merely money or status. I want them to experience what I felt. And I want them to understand what it's like to have your entire life exposed as a falsehood. Trevor zipped his bag, contemplating his friend. The fervent, idealistic educator was gone, replaced by something more rigid. If you require anything else, just one thing. Ben handed him a sealed envelope. Deliver this to Yvonne. Ensure she reads it. After Trevor departed, Ben returned to his work. The letter to Yvonne contained no threats, no allegations. Just a straightforward message. You taught me how to demolish a family. Now I'll teach you how to lose everything. The subsequent weeks elapsed in a whirlwind of preparations. Edmund, a former martial arts instructor turned private security advisor, assisted Ben in transforming his appearance and bearing. Hours in the gym substituted his teacher's soft physique with lean muscle. His clean-shaven face disappeared behind a well-groomed beard. Contact lenses altered his eye color. Sophia, their private investigator friend, kept him informed of his family's escalating desperation. Yvonne's interior design business was failing as clients abandoned her. Franklin's accounting firm placed him on leave pending an inquiry into ethical breaches. Ben had anonymously reported. The children were unraveling. Colin, denied his dream university, took employment at a fast food restaurant. Rhonda's private school revoked her scholarship. Miguel, the youngest, had begun acting out, engaging in school altercations. Ben absorbed each report without sentiment. He had loved them once, would have perished for them. Now they were merely objectives in a game they were unaware they were participating in. On his final night in the motel, Ben reviewed his plans one last time. His new identity was secure. Sam Williams, a secluded rancher with an enigmatic history. His finances were protected, concealed behind tiers of shell companies and offshore accounts. His appearance was altered sufficiently to avoid casual recognition. He lifted his packed bag, everything else had been shipped ahead to the ranch, and took a final glance around the room. Ben Manning had perished here, amid cheap furnishings and faded wallpaper. Sam Williams was prepared to initiate the next stage of his retribution. The night clerk barely looked up as he checked out. Outside, a taxi awaited to transport him to the private airfield where Trevor had arranged passage. As the city lights faded behind him, Ben permitted himself a slight smile. The foundation was established. Now it was time to construct something new from the remnants of his former life, something his betrayers would not anticipate until it was too late. In the taxi's rear seat darkness, Ben retrieved his phone one last time. He had one final message to send before disposing of the device. To Yvonne's number, he typed, "Congratulations. You've taught our children that betrayal has no consequences. I'm going to teach them how mistaken you were. Enjoy your freedom while it lasts." He pressed send and then tossed the phone out the window, observing in the side mirror as it smashed on the asphalt. Ahead stretched a new existence, a new identity, and the icy gratification of realizing that was all left behind. His message was illuminating Yvonne's phone, delivering the initial shiver of genuine terror down her spine. The game was only starting. Chapter 4. The Ghost of the Past. The ranch stood secluded against the Colorado mountains, its aged structures a monument to prolonged abandonment. Now, Sam Williams examined the property through narrowed eyes. The flaking paint, decaying timber, and unkempt fields symbolized everything he required: a trial, a diversion, a stronghold. He passed a hand over his bearded face, fingers following unfamiliar lines. The previous 3 months had altered him. Vanished was the soft-bodied instructor in khakis and button-downs. His physique had toughened from physical work, muscles shaped by hours of practice with Edmund Chin, his martial arts specialist friend. "This part needs total reconstruction," Edmund stated, kicking a decayed fence post. He had been assisting Ben restore the ranch while coaching him. "Your form is getting better. You are grasping the methods quicker than the majority of my pupils." Ben grunted, lifting a fresh post into place. Fury is an effective incentive. Regarding motivation, Edmund extracted his phone. "Sophia provided an update about your family." Ben hammered the post into the earth with extra force. "Inform me. Yvonne's interior design enterprise is losing customers rapidly. That graduation party video spread widely. It seems individuals dislike employing designers who deceive their spouses and falsify their children's paternity." Edmund browsed the report. "She has been drinking excessively, arriving tardy to meetings. Franklin attempted to aid her in securing new clients, but his reputation is too tarnished." Ben stood upright, wiping perspiration from his forehead. "The kids are residing with Yvonne. Colin is employed in fast food. Rhonda was expelled from private school, and Miguel is engaging in brawls. They are all holding you responsible for wrecking their lives." Ben's chuckle was devoid of warmth. "They ought to have considered the repercussions of treating me poorly for 2 decades. The noise of an approaching vehicle captured their focus. A worn pickup truck arrived, Hank Morrison behind the wheel. The retired sheriff had turned into Ben's nearest ally locally, though he recognized him solely as Sam. "Brought those supplies you requested," Hank called out, descending from the cab. He was in his 60s, his worn face crowned by steel-gray hair. And some news you may find intriguing. Ben assisted in unloading the truck as Hank spoke. A couple passed through town inquiring. A woman matching your ex-wife's description, elegant attire but appearing disheveled. A man accompanying her attempting to appear polished but as anxious as a long-tailed cat in a space full of rocking chairs. Clearly Franklin, Edmund murmured. They are nearing, Ben stated, his expression unaltered. Excellent. Everything is prepared for them. Hank scrutinized him. You never shared the full account, Sam, but I recognize that expression. I have witnessed it in men who have been deceived, men seeking justice. He tapped his truck. I have my former service weapon in here if you require it. I value that, Hank, but I have alternate intentions for them. Ben's phone vibrated with a message from Trevor Gang, his technology specialist. Pardon me. He stepped away, reading Trevor's update. The counterfeit design firm he established was a snare. Yvonne was prepared. The accounting role for Franklin was arranged, complete with falsified credentials that would incriminate him in monetary offenses. The children would shortly get their opportunity for redemption. They are desperate, Trevor's message stated. Yvonne is attempting to sell her jewelry. Franklin is delinquent on his mortgage. The kids are disputing the remainder of their trust fund money, which I have ensured will vanish when they attempt to access it. Ben typed in reply. Advance to phase 2. That night, after Edmund and Hank departed, Ben sat on his recently restored porch, cleaning a hunting rifle. The firearm was merely for display, part of his Sam Williams character, but the threatening click as he reassembled it gratified something sinister within him. His phone illuminated with a sequence of messages from Yvonne. Please, Ben, we must converse. The children are struggling. You cannot simply vanish with all our funds. I am aware you are in Colorado. He read each one, picturing her escalating desperation. The Yvonne he wed would never have pleaded. She had been too arrogant, too in control of him. Now that control was lost, and she was experiencing what it felt like to be powerless. Ben lifted his satellite phone, untraceable thanks to Trevor, and dialed a number. Sophia, track them when they arrive. I want precise details of their arrival time, lodging, and actions. Ensure our local contacts are prepared to perform their roles. The scheme was intricate, intended to separate and crush each member of his previous family. Yvonne would be presented with what seemed like professional salvation, only to have her standing ruined further. Franklin would believe he had found financial rescue, then find he had been framed for illegal acts. The children would discover what it meant to labor for something rather than have it provided. Ben loaded the rifle and shot at a far-off target, the report resonating across his land. He had devoted 20 years to being the kind, compassionate husband and father. That individual was deceased, substituted by someone tougher, colder, more competent at delivering the justice his family merited. Let them come to Colorado. Let them believe they could confront or influence him. They would learn what occurred when they drove a decent man beyond his limits. The sun set behind the mountains as Ben cleaned his weapon one last time. Tomorrow he would resume training with Edmund, developing both his physique and his abilities. He would examine Trevor's newest digital snares and Sophia's surveillance summaries. He would converse with Hank about local rumors while covertly collecting information. And soon, very soon, he would demonstrate to his former family exactly whom they had manufactured when they betrayed him. Chapter 5. The Web Titans. The Colorado morning brought Yvonne's BMW winding up the mountain road, its flawless paint marking it as clearly mismatched among the regional pickup trucks. In the passenger seat, Franklin Chung gripped the door handle as Yvonne took another bend too rapidly. Reduce speed, he insisted. These roads are hazardous. I will slow down when I reclaim my life. Yvonne retorted, her perfectly manicured nails tapping the steering wheel. He is here somewhere. That tip regarding Sam Williams was reliable. Franklin wiped sweat from his brow. Their recent months had been a horror of bounced checks, terminated agreements, and increasingly frantic attempts to sustain appearances. Yvonne's drinking had worsened, and his own efforts to revive his accounting practice had failed dramatically. Perhaps we should reconsider this, he proposed. If I desire your viewpoint, I will supply it to you, Yvonne interrupted. You are the cause of this disaster. Your brilliant notion to inform the kids about their paternity. You were the one who mentioned it at the gathering. Franklin objected. I never intended. Be silent. Yvonne hit the brakes as a ranch came into sight. A tall, Bearded man was repairing a fence. Something about his motions felt recognizable. That is him. I would recognize those hands anywhere. She entered the gravel driveway, dust swirling behind the vehicle. The man rose gradually, observing their approach with cold indifference. Ben. Yvonne exited the car before it completely halted. We must talk. The man's voice was coarse, unlike Ben's careful teacher articulation. Name's Sam Williams. You are trespassing. Abandon the act. Yvonne advanced toward him, her designer heels unsuitable for the rocky terrain. You believe a beard and some physical labor alter who you are? I was wed to you for 20 years. Lady, I do not know who you believe I am, but you need to depart. His posture shifted subtly into a fighter's stance, Franklin realized with mounting anxiety. Ben, please. Yvonne reached for him. We can resolve this. The kids need their father. I need my spouse. Fascinating. The man's voice dripped with scorn. You require funds. Your designer existence is becoming difficult to uphold. You mean? So you confess you are Ben. Yvonne turned to Franklin triumphantly. Observe, I informed you. I admit nothing. The man smiled, and Franklin felt a cold sensation. This was not the Ben they had known. This man's eyes contained something perilous. But since you are here, let's discuss decisions and outcomes. He moved with surprising swiftness, seizing Yvonne's wrist as she attempted to strike him. Careful, assault charges would not assist your present circumstances. Release me. Yvonne struggled, but his hold was unyielding. Like you released our marriage vows, he freed her with a push that made her stagger backward. Like you relinquished any fragment of loyalty or decency. Franklin stepped forward. Ben, we understand we injured you. Franklin shun. The man's focus shifted to him. The friend I confided in with my finances, the man who underscore my wife and fathered my children. Inform me, does your new accounting firm know about the imaginative bookkeeping you performed with my tutoring business? Franklin felt the blood leave his face. How did you? I know everything. The man's voice stayed conversational. Every affair, falsehood, manipulation. I am aware of Yvonne's additional lovers. Correct, Franklin, there were others. I know about the money you both misappropriated. I know precisely how long you have been mocking me behind my back. Yvonne's face had turned pale. You are lying. Am I? Should we review Rick from your yoga class or Trevor, your preferred contractor? Or should we address the offshore accounts Franklin established for you? Cease this. Yvonne's composure fractured. Fine. Yes, I was unfaithful. Yes, we deceived. You were dull, Ben, a pitiful teacher who never achieved anything. Franklin provided everything you could not, including 3 children. The man's grin turned icier. Tell me, how are your beloved offspring managing poverty? Yvonne's voice escalated hysterically. Is that what you desired? To penalize innocent children? Innocent, he laughed. They knew the reality for years, elected to treat me with disdain while expending my money. Now they are learning what life is like without daddy's finances. A truck emerged on the road from the local sheriff's department. The man signaled it. Officer, these individuals are trespassing. They appear confused about my identity. The deputy, young and stern-faced, approached. Everything all right, Mr. Williams? Perfectly fine. These people were departing. No. Yvonne surged forward. He is my husband. He stole our money. Ma'am. The deputy's hand moved to his weapon. I have known Sam Williams since he purchased this ranch. I will need you to return to your vehicle. This is not concluded. Yvonne hissed as Franklin pulled her back to the car. We will verify who you are. Good fortune. The man turned away, dismissing them. Deputy, would you mind seeing them off my property? As they drove away, trailing the patrol car, Franklin looked in the rearview mirror. The man they had confronted stood observing, his demeanor exuding cold contentment. That is not the Ben we knew, Franklin said softly. No. Yvonne's hands trembled as she lit a cigarette. He has transformed into something far more severe. Later that evening, alone in his study, Ben reviewed the surveillance footage Sophia had installed in Yvonne's car. He watched their return drive to town, listened to their frantic strategizing. His phone buzzed with a message from Trevor. Phase 2 is prepared. Yvonne accepted the job offer from our fake design firm. Franklin's accounting trap is activated. Ben typed in response. Proceed. Ensure the children witness their parents' good fortune. Let them simmer in their bitterness. Another message flashed on his screen, this one from Edmund. Security systems enhanced. No one approaches the ranch without our awareness. Piece by piece, his web was constricting. Soon they would all learn the genuine expense of betrayal. Chapter 6. The trap is set. The design firm's office in downtown Denver shone with professional potential. Yvonne adjusted her designer's suit, one of her final remnants from better times, and examined the company letterhead, Williams & Associates Interior Design. Miss Manning. The receptionist smiled warmly. Mr. Williams will see you now. Yvonne's heart pounded. Could this be Ben's firm? But the man who welcomed her in the executive suite was not Ben or Sam. He was older, silver-haired, impeccably attired. Yvonne Manning, your portfolio is remarkable. He indicated a chair. We have been monitoring your work for years. Truly. Yvonne struggled to conceal her letdown. I mean, thank you. Aside from recent personal matters, your skill is unquestionable. We would like to extend you a role as our lead designer. The salary is $300,000 annually plus commission. Yvonne's hands shook. This was her opportunity for redemption, reinstatement, retribution against Ben. When can I commence? Across town, Franklin sat in another office receiving a comparable offer. The accounting firm seemed authentic, the pay ample. His background with creative accounting. Neither suspected the truth. Both companies were detailed fabrications produced by Trevor Gang's technical expertise and financed by Ben's liquidated assets. Each office was manned by actors, local talent recruited through Hank's contacts. Every exchange was scripted to lure Yvonne and Franklin further into Ben's trap. In his ranch house command center, Ben viewed multiple screens displaying security feeds from both offices. Sophia's miniature cameras captured every angle, while Trevor's software recorded every digital communication. They took the bait. Trevor reported via secure line. Yvonne is already scheming to recruit her former clients. Franklin is entering the compromised accounting systems. Ideal. Ben's fingers tapped his desk. Initiate the rumor campaign. Ensure their local associates learn of their good luck. The subsequent phase started immediately. Anonymous tips reached Yvonne and Franklin's previous clients, implying financial wrongdoing. Meticulously fabricated evidence indicated both were exploiting their new roles to swindle investors. Every action they took buried them deeper in a pit they did not realize existed. Meanwhile, Ben's attention shifted to the children. Their trust fund accounts, supposedly emptied, had actually been moved into concealed holdings. Now they received anonymous messages. Their estranged father might be willing to reconcile, but solely on his conditions. Dad, Colin's voicemail played through Ben's speakers. I mean, if this is truly you, we are suffering. Rhonda had to quit school. Miguel is in difficulty. Please, we will do anything. Ben's laugh was devoid of warmth as he typed a reply. Anything? We will see. Come to Colorado. Learn what genuine labor signifies. The trap was multi-tiered, devised to break each family member distinctly. Yvonne would sample professional achievement again, only to have it crumble to ashes. Franklin would think he had found financial deliverance, only to encounter criminal accusations. The children would learn harsh truths about privilege and consequences. Ben's friends observed his metamorphosis with blended admiration and worry. You are not the same man who arrived here, Hank remarked during one of their nightly strategy sessions. That man was feeble, Ben responded, cleaning one of the hunting rifles he had learned to operate. He trusted too readily, loved too naively. And this new addition? Hank gestured at the surveillance screens, the complex web of deceit. What does he believe in? Justice. Ben adjusted the rifle sight. The variety the legal system cannot supply. Edmund, arriving for their daily training, found Ben rehearsing hand-to-hand combat maneuvers in the barn turn gym. Your technique has enhanced, Edmund noted, evading a precise blow. But you are still holding back. Not for much longer. Ben's next strike connected firmly enough to make Edmund grunt. They are coming here, all of them. I must be prepared. The physical training complemented Ben's psychological operations. Each day brought fresh developments. Yvonne's design projects mysteriously failing inspection. Franklin's clients were reporting irregularities, while the children discovered that the work at Mountain Ranch demanded muscles they had never developed while living in town. The locals played their parts flawlessly. Hank's friends and law enforcement kept Ben, known to them as Sam, informed about any inquiries regarding him. Shop owners and ranchers reported any strangers asking questions. Ben's network extended beyond Colorado. Trevor's cyber surveillance tracked Yvonne's desperate attempts to secure loans and Franklin's increasingly panicked financial maneuvers, along with the children's social media complaints about their diminished status. "They're breaking," Sophia reported after another surveillance sweep. "Erica is drinking more heavily. Franklin is making mistakes in his work. The kids are fighting among themselves constantly." Colin blames Rhonda for revealing too much at the graduation party. Rhonda accuses Miguel of not keeping their secrets. "They're all terrified of what you might do next." "Good," Ben said, switching off the surveillance feeds. Fear is an excellent teacher. His phone buzzed with an update from Trevor. The fake design company's project deadline was approaching, a multi-million-dollar renovation Yvonne had desperately thrown herself into. She pulled multiple all-nighters, believing this would be her comeback triumph. "Everything's in place," Trevor reported. "When she presents to the clients next week, we will spring the trap. All her design choices violate building codes. Thanks to our altered documentation, the budget numbers will show massive overruns, courtesy of Franklin's creative accounting." Ben nodded, satisfaction coursing through him. "Make sure the licensing board receives anonymous evidence of fraud. I want her professional reputation destroyed beyond repair." He pulled up the ranch's work schedule. The children would arrive tomorrow. He had prepared 3 Spartan cabins, bare of any luxuries. Their phones would have no signal here, no internet, no escape. "Your methods are brutal," Edmund observed, helping Ben check the security perimeter. "They deserve it. But this level of revenge, it changes a man." "I'm counting on that." Ben's voice was cold. "The weak, trusting fool they betrayed is dead. I want them to understand exactly what they've created in his place." The sunset glowed behind the Colorado mountains. As Ben reviewed his plans one final time, in Denver, Yvonne prepared for her doomed presentation. Franklin sweated over fraudulent accounts that would soon destroy him, while his children packed for what they thought was a chance at reconciliation. Unaware, they were walking into their own carefully designed punishment. Phase 2 was nearly complete. Soon, very soon, they would all understand the true cost of betrayal. Chapter 7, The Descent. The gleaming office of Williams & Associates Interior Design buzzed with anticipation. Yvonne Manning straightened her designer blazer, a relic from better days, and reviewed her presentation one final time. The multi-million-dollar renovation project would be her redemption, her chance to rebuild everything she had lost. "The clients are ready," Miss Manning, her assistant, announced. Yvonne gathered her materials, her hand steady despite the bottle of wine she had consumed the night before. The past months had been a study in contrasts, professional triumph against personal ruin. The salary was magnificent, but something about it nagged at her. The company's owner remained mysteriously absent, communicating only through intermediaries. In the conference room, 5 stern-faced executives waited. Yvonne launched into her presentation with practiced charm, the mask she had worn for 20 years firmly in place. "As you can see, the design incorporates both modern aesthetics and practical functionality." "Miss Manning," the lead executive cut her off. "Can you explain these building code violations?" Yvonne blinked. "I'm sorry." He slid a document across the table. "Our review shows 17 major code violations in your plans. The budget numbers don't match our records. Care to explain the discrepancies?" "There must be some mistake." Yvonne's voice wavered as she scanned the report. "These are my numbers." "No, they're mine." Franklin Chin stood in the doorway, his face ashen. "Yvonne, we need to talk. Now." In his temporary office across town, Franklin had just discovered his own nightmare. The accounting software he had been using had left a trail of fraudulent transactions, all traced back to his login credentials. Client funds had been misappropriated, tax documents had been falsified. "I don't understand," he muttered, staring at his screen. "These transactions, I never authorized them." His phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "Enjoying your new position, Franklin? You should have stuck to stealing from just me." Across town, in 3 sparse cabins on Ben's ranch, his children were learning their own harsh lessons. Colin's muscles screamed as he hauled another load of rocks. Rhonda's designer clothes were caked with mud from digging fence post holes. Miguel's video game soft hands had developed blisters from endless ranch work. "This is slave labor," Colin spat, dropping the wheelbarrow. "We're his children," For God's sake. No, we're not. Rhonda wiped sweat from her face. Remember? Franklin is our father. We made that pretty clear at the party. Shut up, Miguel. Colin hurled a shovel down. This is all your fault. If you hadn't been bragging, my fault. Rhonda advanced on her brother. Who was it that started calling Ben the walking ATM behind his back? Who convinced Mom to tell us the truth about Franklin? Their argument was interrupted by a ranch hand, one of Ben's loyal associates in disguise. Back to work. Mr. Williams doesn't tolerate slacking. In his command center, Ben watched the simultaneous collapse of his family's carefully constructed lives. Sophia's surveillance feed showed Yvonne's presentation imploding, Franklin discovering his apparent crimes, and the children turning on each other. You've orchestrated quite a show, Hank observed, reviewing the footage. Yvonne's professional reputation is destroyed. Franklin is facing criminal charges. The kids are breaking. They're learning. Ben's voice held no emotion. Actions have consequences. Betrayal has a price. His phone lit up with desperate messages. Yvonne. Ben, please. They're saying I'll lose my license. Franklin says there's evidence of fraud. Franklin, the FBI is investigating the accounts. You have to help me. Colin. Dad, we are sorry. We'll do anything. Just make this stop. Ben read each message with cold satisfaction. Phase 1 had broken them financially. Phase 2 had destroyed their professional lives. Now came Phase 3, the complete dismantling of their carefully constructed self-images. Send the files, he instructed Trevor. Make sure every client, friend, and associate sees the evidence. Within hours, Yvonne's other affairs became public knowledge. Franklin's history of financial manipulation emerged. The children's social media posts mocking their fake father surfaced. Ben watched through the security cameras as his family's world burned. Tomorrow, he would summon them all to the ranch for the final confrontation. But tonight, he allowed himself a moment to appreciate how far he had come from the trusting fool they had betrayed. The man who had grilled burgers at his son's graduation party was dead. In his place stood someone harder, colder, someone his family had created through their own cruelty. Tomorrow, they would meet that creation face to face. Chapter 8. The Confrontation. The morning dawned bright and clear as Ben surveyed his property from the porch. Hank's truck kicked up dust on the drive, followed by several other vehicles. The town had turned out for the show. Quite a crowd, Hank commented, joining Ben. Word got around about your invitation. Good, Ben checked his watch. They should be here soon. Right on cue, Yvonne's BMW appeared, followed by Franklin's sedan. The children trudged down from their cabins, looking beaten and exhausted from weeks of hard labor. Showtime, Ben murmured. Yvonne emerged from her car first, her designer outfit a sharp contrast to her haggard face. Franklin stumbled out behind her, his usual smooth confidence replaced by barely concealed panic. You bastard. Yvonne's voice cracked across the yard. You did this. You set us up. Ben didn't move from his position on the porch. Did what exactly? Expose your affairs? Reveal Franklin's financial crimes? Show the world who you really are. Those accounts were falsified, Franklin protested. Someone planted evidence. Like you planted evidence of my supposed financial mismanagement? Ben's voice cut through Franklin's excuses. Like you manipulated records to hide Yvonne's spending? Your skills finally caught up with you, old friend. The children approached, Rhonda supporting a limping Colin, while Miguel trailed behind. Dad, Rhonda began. I'm not your father. Ben's words froze them in place. You made that very clear. Remember? Franklin gave us better genes. Those were your words, weren't they? We were wrong. Colin's voice shook. We're sorry. Sorry you got caught. Ben descended the porch steps. Sorry your comfortable lies collapsed. Sorry your actions finally had consequences. The gathered townspeople watched in silence as Ben approached his former family. These people had heard pieces of his story over the months and had played their parts in his revenge. Now they witnessed the culmination. Yvonne, he turned to his ex-wife. You thought I was beneath you, a boring teacher who funded your lifestyle while you slept your way through the social circle. How's that working out for you now? Yvonne's face crumpled. Ben, please, we can fix this. Fix what? Your reputation? Your career? The 7 different affairs I've exposed. He laughed coldly. You can't fix betrayal, Yvonne. You can only pay for it. He turned to Franklin. My friend, my business partner, the man who helped me invest for my children's future. Your children, I should say. Did you enjoy watching me work multiple jobs to pay for their education? Did you laugh about it in bed with my wife? Franklin stepped forward, hands raised. The police are investigating those accounts. If you don't help me, you'll what? Ben's smile was razor sharp. Tell them how you've been embezzling from clients for years. How you helped Yvonne hide her spending. I have proof of everything. Franklin, everything. Finally, he faced the children. You three. I gave you everything. Private school, expensive hobbies, college funds. And how did you repay me? With contempt, with mockery, with betrayal. We didn't know better, Miguel protested weakly. Didn't you? You knew I wasn't your biological father. You knew Yvonne and Franklin were laughing at me. Furthermore, you chose to join in, to treat me like a personal bank while sneering behind my back. The gathered crowd murmured as Ben outlined each betrayal, each cruel joke, each moment of disrespect. His voice never raised, but his words cut like knives. So here we are. Ben spread his arms, indicating the ranch, the town, his new life. The boring teacher you all despised has outmaneuvered you. The weak man you betrayed has destroyed you. The fool you laughed at has brought you to your knees. What do you want? Yvonne whispered. What? Ben's laugh held no humor. I want you to understand consequences. I want you to feel what I felt. Furthermore, I want you to know what it's like to have your entire life revealed as a lie. He pulled out his phone, pressed a button, and around the gathered crowd, phones buzzed with new notifications. I've just released everything. All the evidence, all the recordings, all the proof of your betrayal, frauds, and crimes. By tonight, everyone you know will see who you really are. Yvonne collapsed, sobbing. Franklin staggered back as if struck. The children huddled together, their faces masks of horror. Get off my property, Ben commanded. Go back to the wreckage of your lives. Remember this moment. Remember that you created this, not me. You turned a good man into your worst nightmare. As his former family stumbled away, broken and humiliated, Ben turned to address the gathered townspeople. Thank you all for your help these past months. The show is over. The crowd dispersed, leaving Ben alone with Hank on the porch. Was it worth it? The old sheriff asked. Ben watched the dust settle on the drive where his family had disappeared. Ask me again in a year. Chapter 9. The Phoenix Rises. 1 year later, Ben stood in his renovated ranch house, studying the latest report from Sophia. His revenge had rippled outward, destroying not just his family's lives, but their entire social world. Yvonne had left town after losing her design license. She worked retail now, her glamorous lifestyle replaced by a small apartment and mounting legal bills. Her attempts to date had failed, as each potential partner discovered her history of infidelity. Franklin faced federal charges for financial crimes. Ben's evidence had exposed not just his affair with Yvonne, but years of fraudulent practices. His comfortable life had dissolved into a maze of legal proceedings and potential prison time. The children struggled in different ways. Colin worked construction, his dreams of university replaced by manual labor. Rhonda lived with roommates, working as a waitress. Miguel had moved in with Franklin's parents, the only family members willing to take him in. Still no regrets? Trevor asked, downloading the latest surveillance data. They're thoroughly destroyed. They destroyed themselves, Ben replied. I just made sure they couldn't hide from it anymore. He had changed, too. The ranch had prospered under his management. His new identity as Sam Williams had taken root, respected in the community for his business acumen and straight dealing. The physical training with Edmund had transformed him from a soft teacher into a hardened rancher. Your investments have tripled, Trevor noted, reviewing the accounts. The tech startups are taking off. Real estate holdings are solid. You're wealthier now than you ever were before. Money was never the point. Ben moved to the window, surveying his property. They needed to learn that actions have consequences, that betrayal carries a price. His phone buzzed, a message from Rhonda. Dad, please, we've learned our lesson. We miss you. Ben deleted it without responding. The wounds had scarred over, but they never healed completely. His family had taught him that trust, once broken, couldn't be repaired. Hank's truck appeared on the drive, kicking up dust. The old sheriff had become a true friend, one of the few people who knew Ben's whole story. Got news, Hank announced, settling into a chair. Yvonne is trying to rebuild her business in another state. Franklin is planning to plead guilty in exchange for a reduced sentence. And the kids are talking about moving away, starting fresh somewhere their past can't follow them. Hank studied his friend. You've won, Ben. They're broken, humbled, destroyed. Maybe it's time to let go. Ben's laugh held no warmth. Let go? They spent 20 years laughing at me, treating me with contempt, taking everything I gave them while mocking me behind my back. They're learning what it means to struggle, to work, to face consequences. He pulled up the latest surveillance photos on his tablet. Yvonne working a retail shift, her designer clothes replaced by a store uniform. Franklin meeting with lawyers, his confident smile replaced by deathly fear. The children working menial jobs, their privileged upbringing useless in the real world. This isn't just revenge, Ben continued, it's justice. They're finally experiencing what I did, working hard, sacrificing, struggling to survive. The difference is, I did it for them. They're doing it because they destroyed everything they had. Hank nodded slowly. And you? What's next for Sam Williams? Ben gestured at his rebuilt ranch, his prospering business ventures, his new life. I'm not the man they betrayed anymore. That week, trusting fool died at his son's graduation party. They created something harder, colder, stronger. He turned to his friend. I won't waste time hating them anymore. I will not actively work to destroy them. They have accomplished that themselves, but I will never forget, and I will never forgive. That is my gift to them. The awareness that their actions changed a good man into someone able to completely annihilate them. The sun descended behind the mountains as Ben surveyed his new empire. He would emerge from betrayal stronger, wiser, and more powerful. His former family had taught him the true meaning of loyalty by demonstrating its opposite. They taught him strength by taking advantage of his weakness. They taught him ruthlessness by misusing his kindness. He was no longer the victim of their betrayal. He was its outcome. Pilot. 10 years later, the Williams Ranch spread across the Colorado landscape, a significant departure from the rundown property Ben had purchased a decade earlier. It now covered thousands of acres, with multiple buildings, state-of-the-art facilities, and a reputation as one of the most prosperous agricultural and tech innovation centers in the state. Ben, still known to everyone as Sam Williams, sat in his office examining quarterly reports. At 55, his body remained hardened from years of physical labor, his beard now streaked with gray. The past decade had transformed him from a vengeful ex-husband into a respected business leader, though the cold calculation that had fueled his revenge never entirely vanished. Mr. Williams, his assistant's voice came through the intercom. Sophia Chan is here for your monthly briefing. Send her in. Sophia, a former private investigator turned head of security, had aged gracefully. She had expanded her role in Ben's revenge into a successful corporate security consulting business, with the Williams Ranch as her primary client. Updates on all targets, she announced, settling into a chair. She never referred to Ben's former family by name, a habit developed during the years of surveillance. Proceed, Ben said, turning from his computer and giving her his full attention. Yvonne first, still living in Phoenix. The drinking worsened after her third failed attempt to restart her design business. She's working as an assistant manager at a furniture store now, but that's likely her ceiling. 2 failed relationships in the past year, both ended when the men discovered her. Ben nodded, his face impassive. Franklin was released from federal prison last month after serving 7 years. The reduced sentence for cooperation didn't help his reputation. He's living in a halfway house, trying to rebuild some kind of life. No one will hire him for financial work, obviously. He's working as a night janitor at a local high school. The children, Sophia continued, pulling up her tablet. Colin finally finished his degree, community college, night classes, while working construction. He's a junior project manager now, married with 1 kid. His wife knows the whole story. It almost broke them up, but they worked through it. He's the only one who's managed any real stability. She scrolled down. Rhonda is still in California. She went through rehab last year for pills and alcohol. She's working as a receptionist at a small interior design firm. Ironic, but she doesn't handle client accounts, just answers phones. No serious relationships. And Miguel, the most troubled of the 3, 2 DUI arrests, lost his job at Franklin's parents' company for stealing. Currently unemployed, living with a girlfriend who's supporting him. He's been trying to write a book about his life. Claims he was the victim of psychological abuse by his adoptive father. No publishers are interested. Ben absorbed the information without visible reaction. A decade of reports had detailed his family's decline, each attempt to rebuild, each new failure, each consequence of their betrayal compounding over time. Your friends have done well for themselves, Sophia continued, knowing Ben preferred comprehensive updates. Trevor's cybersecurity firm is now valued at over $1 billion. Edmund Chin's martial arts schools have franchised nationwide. Hank Morrison passed away last year, but his son is doing great work as the new sheriff at the ranch. Your cover identity is rock solid. Sam Williams is now more real than Ben Manning ever was. The community respects you. The business is thriving. You've won by any measure. Ben stood and walked to the window overlooking his domain. The ranch had grown beyond his initial revenge scheme into something genuinely meaningful. His agricultural technology innovations helped farmers across the country. The research center he built attracted top scientists. He employed hundreds of people, funded scholarships, and contributed to the community. They tried to contact you last month, Sophia said quietly. All of them. It was the anniversary of the graduation party. Ben's laugh held no humor. Still hoping for redemption. Yvonne claims she's changed. Franklin wrote a long letter about atonement. The kids say they understand now and want to make amends. And what do you think? Ben turned to his old friend. You've watched them as long as I have. Sophia considered carefully. Yvonne's desperation is financial. She's getting older, can't live on retail wages forever. Franklin is genuinely broken, but prison will do that. The kids. She paused. Colin might be sincere. The others just want what you have. Ben nodded. He had read their messages, analyzed their motives, just as he had every other attempt at contact over the years. The cold rage that had driven his revenge had melted, mellowed into something harder and more permanent, a complete dismissal of their existence. Have you ever regretted it? Sophia asked. The completeness of your revenge. They made their choices, Ben replied. 20 years of lies, 20 years of mockery, 20 years of treating loyalty and love as weaknesses to be exploited. He turned back to the window. I gave them exactly what they deserved, the consequences of their own actions. A knock at the door interrupted them. Edmund Chin entered, now the ranch's head of security training. Sorry to interrupt, but the new agricultural tech prototype is ready for review. Ben nodded. We'll continue this later. Sophia, send me the full report. As his friends left, Ben reviewed the photos on his tablet one last time. Yvonne serving customers at the furniture store, her designer clothes replaced by practical wear, her face lined with bitterness. Franklin in his janitor's uniform, head down, avoiding eye contact with the teachers. His children in their diminished lives. Colin building something small but stable. Rhonda and Miguel still flailing. He closed the tablet. Their fates were no longer his concern. They had taught him valuable lessons about trust, loyalty, and consequences. He had applied those lessons to build something greater than revenge, a new life, a thriving business, a lasting legacy. The afternoon sun caught the ranch's solar panels, a testament to his investment in sustainable technology. In the distance, automated farming equipment moved through experimental crop fields. Teams of researchers and engineers walked between buildings, developing innovations that would help feed the world. His phone buzzed, another message from Yvonne. Ben, please, we've all suffered enough. Can't we try to heal as a family? He deleted it without reading further. The man they betrayed was long dead, transformed by their actions into someone stronger, colder, and more successful than they could have imagined. Their punishment wasn't just the loss of wealth and status. It was knowing that their cruelty had created their own destruction. A video call notification popped up. The governor wanted to discuss expanding the ranch's agricultural program statewide. Ben straightened his jacket and accepted the call. Sam Williams had meetings to attend, projects to oversee, an empire to run. Ben Manning's past was just that, past. His revenge had been perfect, not because he had actively destroyed his family, but because he had forced them to face the truth about themselves. They had learned what it meant to struggle, to work, to face consequences. They had learned about loyalty by losing everything they gained through betrayal. Most importantly, they learned that the quiet, unassuming teacher they mocked had become someone far beyond their reach, successful, powerful, and completely indifferent to their existence. The sun set behind the mountains as Ben reviewed plans for the ranch's next expansion. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new opportunities, new chances to build on the foundation he created from the ashes of betrayal. His former family would continue their diminished lives, carrying the weight of their choices, while he soared higher with each passing year. They created this version of him through their betrayal. Living with that knowledge was the perfect punishment. Legacy. 20 years after the graduation party that changed everything, a journalist visited the Williams Ranch to profile its reclusive owner. The resulting article painted a picture that would have been unrecognizable to Ben Manning's former family. Sam Williams defies easy categorization. His agricultural technology innovations have revolutionized farming across 3 continents. His sustainability initiatives have made him a leader in combating climate change. His charitable foundation provides scholarships to hundreds of students annually. Yet he remains intensely private, known to the community as a fair but demanding employer, a generous but unsentimental philanthropist, and a man who values loyalty above all else. The article never mentioned his past. That history was buried too deep for any reporter to uncover. But his former family read it. As they read everything about the mysterious Sam Williams, they saw their own role in creating him, though they would never understand the full scope of their impact. Yvonne, now in her 60s, kept the article in her small apartment. Sometimes, after too many drinks, she would tell younger colleagues about her ex-husband, though few believed her stories about the wealthy rancher. Her attempts to rebuild her design career had long since failed, leaving her with retail work and regrets. Franklin read it in prison during his final year, the paper crumpling in his shaking hands. His cellmate thought he was crying about the lost opportunity, a wealthy rancher who could have been a client. Only Franklin knew he was crying about the friend he had betrayed, the man whose trust he had abused, the life he had thrown away. The children had different reactions. Colin showed it to his wife and daughter, trying to explain something about consequences and redemption. Rhonda ignored it, too focused on staying sober to deal with the past. Miguel tried to use it as proof of his father's psychological manipulation, but his girlfriend just rolled her eyes at another of his excuses. Ben kept a copy too, though he never displayed it. It served as a reminder not of his revenge, but of what he built from it. The quiet teacher had died, but something stronger had emerged from that betrayal. His former family had thought him weak, had treated his loyalty as something to exploit. They created their own destiny in doing so. The Williams Ranch stood as a testament to transformation, not just of land or technology or business, but of a man. Ben Manning had been a caterpillar, naive and trusting. His family's betrayal had forced him into a cocoon of revenge and reinvention. Sam Williams was the butterfly that emerged, powerful, successful, and completely beyond their reach. Traditional wisdom said living well was the best revenge. Ben had proven that. Living extraordinarily well, while ensuring your betrayers witnessed their own role in your transformation, was even better. The story could have ended differently. He could have remained bitter, focused solely on revenge. Instead, he channeled that cold rage into creation, building something meaningful while letting his former family destroy themselves through their own choices. That was his true legacy, not the revenge that had driven him initially, but the empire he built from its ashes, not the destruction of his betrayers, but the complete indifference to their existence that true success had granted him. The man who had grilled burgers at his son's graduation party would never have recognized the titan of industry he had become, but then that man had died the moment he heard his wife's cruel words. What emerged was something his family had never expected, a force of nature they created through their own betrayal. That was the final irony. In trying to exploit what they saw as weakness, they had forged something immeasurably stronger. In betraying his trust, they taught him to build something greater than revenge. Sam Williams was their creation. Living with that knowledge was their perfect punishment. And there you have it. Another story comes to an end. What did you think? I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this story, consider joining our community by subscribing. It means the world to us. For more stories like this one, check out the recommended videos on screen, and I will see you there.